Hey, what's up, everybody? Probably a 4 second delay, but it's Skype. What are you gonna do? But yeah, I'm Owen Finch, and I'm here with.
AJ Talent, and this is our review of the first half of season 3 of Breaking Bad.
Yep. So this is episodes 1 through 7, and one cool thing no one really knows. I actually have the DVD of season 3. I have the D.
And that is my favorite image from Breaking Bad.
Yep. This is what it looks like. Don't know how well you guys can see it.
Yeah.
Typically, I try to show this off on my phone, but I don't have access to that really this time because I'm on Skype call and stuff. If it was just me, I'd show it. But it shows, like that image. It shows on the back, Walt and like Jesse in the background. Um, we see Gus and Mike. I don't know if you can see this image, but this image is pretty cool. And then in on the disc themselves, it's Gus and Saul. Mike and Saul. And then it's Walter Jr. and I just couldn't find the disc to Jason X. So Jason X is not in Breaking Bad.
Oh, that'd be a cool crossover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we will not be doing this episode by episode. We already did episode reviews for everything. This is more of like an overview.
Yep.
So the season overall before the new movie comes out.
So there will be some spoilers because we'll be talking about some hindsight stuff.
If you want to see us talk about Breaking Bad without spoilers, watch the episode reviews. If you want to see this like in hindsight, watch this because in 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Hank
dies. This season he dies. This season.
Tragic. Well, like you said, they were going to kill him off originally in season 3, but they kill him off. They waited a whole 2 seasons.
Yep.
I bet Dean Norris is happy about that. He got 2 more seasons worth of paychecks.
Yeah, pretty much. They didn't go into detail why they didn't, but I'm just gonna guess that they feel like, that would be stupid.
Because he didn't really get closure with like the whole Walter case and everything.
Yeah, like if he, if he died right here, it would have been stupid.
Sorry, it would have been disappointing. Yeah, so I'm glad they kept him on.
Yeah, because we never would have gotten like the Hank Walter. I think though if
Hank, the entire second half of season 5 too. So.
Yeah. I feel like though if they were gonna kill him off in season 3 though, the first half of it would have been different. Like he actually would have had like the face off with Walt probably in this season instead. So it's all like
you probably would have found out about Walt in the RV and then the shootout would have happened with the twins.
But I think Breaking Bad wouldn't have really. I think Breaking Bad would have like fallen off a cliff towards the end of the series because I feel like with it would have just ended the season earlier. But I don't know. I feel like everything would have been sloppy because then the Gus thing would be different. I'm kind of, let's just say I'm glad things worked out the way they did because
definitely.
I feel like Breaking Bad would be a completely different show. It might not be one of the best shows ever. So,
well, anyway, we're rambling. We'll get into the show.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, something I noticed, we didn't point out last time. Walter grew out his goatee at the end of season 2.
Yep.
So that's very, that's like his iconic look.
Yep.
The bald. He got the bald hair at the end of season 1. At the end of season 2, he's got his goatee. So the Walter White look is complete.
So let's
season 5.
We're not gonna go everything like in order, because this season versus like seasons 1 and 2, like a lot of stuff happens. But it's spread sporadically like throughout the series this time around. I noticed anyways.
I feel like a lot of the things that like continue on in 4 and 5 start here.
Yeah. So
we were introduced to the Salamancas in 1 and 2, but like this is like the first time they're like super relevant.
Yeah.
Besides Tuco was in it for like 3 episodes. So.
Yeah. So let's talk about let's just first kind of say, because it was like the last thing we left off with like season 2. We got some closure, not really closure, but some fallout from the plane crash. So I really like this. We see like the news covering it, and this is cool because Bryan Cranston's wife in real life is actually like one of the people that talks about it, like that gets interviewed. I know this because I have this DVD. So Yeah, so I know a lot of inside stuff. And it's funny because when she got her interview, she was like in front of like a building that like really burnt down, and they just pretended like it was actually part of the crash and stuff. So what a coincidence that was. And
about like something I do wish they focused a bit more on Jane's dad, because like we hear on the radio that like he attempted to kill himself. We don't even find out if he actually killed himself or not.
Yeah, we.
I mean, I assume he did because they never talk about him again.
Yeah, we never hear from him. Cause
I do wish we heard from him more,
Yeah, cause like I didn't even remember that scene until I saw it. But yeah, we hear on the radio he attempted to kill himself.
And then they don't bring it up again, so again we're assuming he's actually dead.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be in the Breaking Bad movie.
I'd be cool with that.
That would actually make sense since
just some closure with Jane.
Yeah. And we find Walter goes to like a school assembly that they have for it, and everybody's talking, like students, about how they feel about it. It's like kind of an inside, like a little bit of little thing. Like one of the students that talks is like a student that like Walt had an issue with about his test, and he's just trying to use it as like an excuse to like say like why he's not studying, pretty much. One of the characters that talks is actually Bryan Cranston's daughter in real life, which is pretty damn cool. And pretty much Walt's kind of like because Walt's dealing with this because he basically is guilty, because he's kind of in a sense, even though he feels responsible for it because he knows Jane's dad was the one that actually was navigating it, and he pretty much feels at fault because he's the one that watched Jane die to begin with.
I do like how like Jesse and Walt have two completely different reactions to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Jesse's like accepts it, like yeah, I'm the bad guy. Walt completely denies it, like he like can't even comprehend that he was like
like he's trying
partly responsible for so many people dying.
Like he's trying to justify it, like in his speech, like saying we've had like a lot of crashes before, and he's trying to say like it wasn't necessarily what happened with Jane. He goes through like they could have had like bad airplane parts. The government could have like screwed up everything. And Jesse, though, like I said, accepts it, and it has to do with him being in rehab because Jesse, when he's in rehab, he has like a story about like the leader, and this is the first time we see like the group leader.
Jesse was still depressed, like he didn't talk for like the whole time until like the very end.
Yeah, and he asked like the group leader like what basically what made you kind of like know the know-it-all, pretty much, because he's the one that's kind of giving the advice to everybody about like how they should find acceptance and stuff like that, which I kind of like that's his speech, because that Jesse turns it right around on him in season 4, pretty much. Because remember, like he gives the whole reason why he started going again to the meetings to begin with. And the group leader then I like it because this kind of connects with Jesse. He tells like the story about how he killed his daughter just because he wanted alcohol and everything. He was so high off like cocaine and stuff, and it's kind of cool because Jesse kind of has that where he feels like it was because he used drugs and killed someone he cared about, like Jane. So
like Jesse can like sympathize or like relate.
Yeah. And one cool thing, it's Walt that is the one that picks him up from rehab, which is kind of a cool little thing.
Yeah, he picks him up and drops him off, like a dad. So.
And then Jesse says that he's fine with, and he accepts the fact that he's the bad guy. And I kind of like it.
Interesting dynamic, which you brought up, that their roles are like flipped from season 5. Where season 5, Walt is the one who wants to keep pushing and keep cooking, but Jesse wants out. Completely reversed.
Yeah.
Jesse accepts the bad guy, so he's like, might as well keep cooking. But Walt doesn't want anything to do with that anymore.
Because it's kind of funny, when Saul's trying to convince him to cook, Walt says, I can't be the bad guy, pretty much. So I think it's kind of like, a cool thing. And
this whole season is just like, Walt and Jesse, like, their whole life is shit.
Yeah. Like, Walt, basically was thrown out of his house and basically can't see the kids or anything like that. But like Jesse, basically has nobody, and even though he's clean and everything, and I kind of like this. Like everyone just thinks like just when you get clean, life's gonna be better instantly. That's not just this Breaking Bad show. Like that's not necessarily the case. No, obviously.
Oh yeah, no. Jesse's life still sucked.
Yeah. No, obviously too. Like, Jesse doesn't feel like. And the difference is Jesse feels like he just killed a bunch of people pretty much. So there's that. But I like it too because like when Jesse said, that I'm the bad guy, this makes Walt like refuse Gus's offer for like $3 million for 3 months of his time. Gus, you could tell Gus, you knew like Walt was gonna end up doing this deal. But Gus at first is like, okay, fine, and they just kind of part ways. But we're like, yeah. Even and I'm not just saying this because I know it now, but you knew back then this wasn't gonna be the end of this. But yeah, I just kind of like like how it kind of shows like how crappy Walt and Jesse's life was kind of the after the fallout of the plane crash. Because why don't you talk about like another thing that happens with Walt with his marriage.
So Skylar had kicked him out of the house, so he was currently living somewhere else.
Yep.
Skylar goes over to his place to get him to sign a divorce, and Walt is like, look, we're happily married, we're having like a little spat, it's not a big deal. But yep. Skylar drops the bomb that she knows he's a drug dealer. Yep. It's a funny moment where like she thinks like he's just selling like marijuana.
It actually makes sense too because
which honestly like even like if it were like today,
yeah, like
I mean like it's still like illegal in places, but like it's not as bad. Like I feel like it's more accepted nowadays.
It's
like
kind of
my
funny.
Friend was like, "Oh, I sell marijuana." I'd be like, "All right, whatever." But if he was like, "Oh, I sell meth," I'd be like, "Whoa, okay, all right, back up."
It's kind of cool because it makes sense that Skylar were connected towards that because Walt was lying saying that he was smoking weed anyways with Jesse.
Yeah, and like she said, like, oh, the Jesse or whatever.
Yeah. And I like then I like how Walt tries to deny it, but like he pretty much realizes like he's not going to be able to lie to Skylar anymore, and I think he kind of doesn't really want to either because that's kind of why he's in the situation that he's in.
Yeah, so he admits it, but like he tries to be like, all right, look, I had to do it, but she's not having it.
Yeah,
I do like how like even though she was like super emotional, she wasn't like immediately like I'm gonna go tell Hank. It was like just stay away from us, all right? Do what you got to do, but don't get us involved.
And I think even though Walt's still upset, the main reason, at least Walt doesn't want to because he doesn't want all, and this kind of ties in even in the end of the season. He doesn't want to to have done all this illegal stuff for it all to be for nothing. Mm-hmm. We should talk about too. Before he moves out of the house, we forgot some important stuff because it kind of ties in. He tries to burn all his money down, and
but like he can't do it. Like he worked for it, So like it's kind of like his pride and ego again. Like he can't throw away everything he did.
And they go into detail about how they shot this scene. Like he actually got set himself on fire, but like he had fire retardant gloves on, so that way that looked like it was his hands. And if you take, they actually say if you look at one of the shots, you can totally tell because his hand's bigger than it's supposed to be. And they had a malfunction where when he jumped into the pool, the glove fell off, so he had to hide that he wasn't that he was not because the glove was coming off. So it's kind of quite funny. But I like too when he's getting all the money out of the pool, he sees the eyeball of that teddy bear, and he kind of keeps that as memorabilia. Kind of saying maybe trying to remind himself why not to go back into the business because stuff like that can happen. Yeah. And one big thing we missed because it kind of ties in is when Hank's helping him move out. Why don't you say what happens there? Because that's actually
Hank grabs one of Walt's duffel bags and was like, "Whoa, what do you got in here? Cinder blocks?" I like how Walt stops, stares at Hank's, and then says $500,000 in cash.
Yeah, and and then
Hank, Hank laughs.
thinking he's joking.
I
Yeah.
have to think like when Hank was on that toilet and he figured out that Walt was Heisenberg, he must have been like, "Son of a bitch has been trolling me."
Yeah.
Like he said it right to my face, and I didn't believe him.
I don't. So you could take this one or two ways. At least at the time, either Walt, I think at this point, really didn't care anymore. He wanted Hank to catch him right then and there because his life was kind of in the shitter at that point. Or I wonder if Walt kind of was trolling him in a way just to say, "Yep, I'm your guy," pretty much. Even though he doesn't know. He has to know it. He knows somewhat he's being like I mean, he knows he's being investigated and stuff, but still. It's so cool. It's just it's a cool scene because we know that Hank scene now. So, but then,
and again, we can't really blame Hank for this. Like in his mind, Walt is like the last person that he would even think of.
Yeah.
Like if your brother-in-law just joked like, "Oh, I got $500,000 cash in his bag," you wouldn't actually believe him.
Yeah, a lot of I've heard a lot of people that ranted about it. You have to, like I said, you have to put yourself in the mindset of like Hank when you're thinking about this story. But then
I think someone even said like on a YouTube comment in that like when that tread lightly scene.
Yeah.
Someone said like, imagine a story from like Hank's perspective, like the Walter being Heisenberg twist be like a major plot twist,
Well, what? Oh, what? Like if we never saw Walt.
Yeah, if we just saw the story from like Hank's eye, Walt being Heisenberg would have been like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Like because we seeing it as like, oh, Hank knows he's Heisenberg, but from his perspective, it's like, no, he just
Yeah.
It's not that Hank knows; it's that Walter.
It's like when we're talking about, it's like I know we're relating it back to Death Note. Remember that episode after L dies? Like the first 15 to 20 minutes of like the next episode is like everything in like L's perspective, know. So it's kind of like it's kind of like that. I mean, could they have done an episode like that with Breaking Bad? Probably, but the series was ended, so it's kind of like you're wasting an episode.
I mean, you don't really need it. I'm just saying, like, for people who like shit on Hank, that's.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for that moment to show someone Breaking Bad, and I want to just show like them that scene of just Walt doing the confession tape with like Hank reversed, and like having it actually watch the show, and they're like,
like, oh my god, this Hank guy sounds like a real monster.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta open up another tab for that. My god, every time we make a Breaking Bad video, I gotta open up like 3 tabs.
You know what? I have a feeling at the end of every video, the rest of the video, since we're on like the good, I should just have you tell me which tab like each time you open up.
I really should, yeah.
All right, so then so pretty much Skylar wants nothing to do with Walt, and she won't tell like Hank or Maria like why like they had issues for obvious reasons. But I do like the scene where like Hank and Marie talk about it, and like they think it's something more than just Walt cheated on them. And this is like another thing, like even Hank kind of realized, he basically mentioned like how Walt's life was crap before, and he wanted to get some excitement in his life. So Hank has it, he just doesn't quite have the rest of it. So it's kind of like I think that's kind of cool. And like they show like how Walt's losing it. Like he gets pulled over because his windshield's cracked, and the cop,
the cop just like pulls him over and is like gonna write him a ticket because like driving around with the cracked, broken windshield isn't good.
Yeah.
But and Walt like gets out of his car and starts screaming at the cop.
He gets pepper sprayed. And actually the deleted scene actually shows him getting pepper sprayed. So that's kind of cool. And Walt even tells Hank like and this is kind of the first stages where you're starting to see like Walt, even though you could say at first he doesn't know, like he's kind of painting Skylar as the bad guy here because he tells Hank like she's not letting me see the kids, but obviously isn't leaving out a very.
It's a bit more than that.
Yeah.
Hank gets mad of it because DA brother-in-law.
Yeah. And then Walt finally you could kind of see like Walt and Skylar having like a little bit of a chess match in this season. Because we got to talk about the famous scene. Walter Jr. is upset about all this stuff. Because basically he's like being left in the dark. And this is kind of cool because you can relate to this, like being a kid when like your parents are fighting, but they're not telling you like what's going on, and like you're pretty much not really know what to do. And this is kind of cool because Walter Jr. starts to finally side with Walt. This is the first of like many seasons of build up where he just completely sides with Walt and like sees his mom as like the bad person here.
Yeah.
He wants to refer to himself again as Walter Jr. And he goes to Walt's house, but like you could tell too, like Walt's playing ball a little bit, like he's not painting him quite as a bad guy. He's like saying like this is just the way things have to be for now, and he even tells him like no matter what happens, we both love you and Holly.
Although honestly, that kind of makes it seem like more like she's a bad guy, because like he's acting like such a good guy.
Yeah, and let's talk about the most meme scene and probably the funniest scene in Breaking Bad ever in the history of the show. When Walt shows up with the pizza.
Oh, yeah. So Walt's basically trying to, like, get back on his family's good side.
Yeah.
And, like, Skylar doesn't care. Not having any of it. So Walt just gets throws the pizza on the roof.
And it's so funny because on the DVD, there's like an inside like where they talk about filming this scene, and like Bryan Cranston's like narrating it, and it's like done like in a comedical way. Like this pizza like went through all of it and stuff. It's just pretty damn funny. They actually said like it took only one shot just for Bryan Cranston to throw this pizza like in that like the exact way you see it in the show.
Yeah, we should play NBA.
Yeah, I know. And because like Walt's basically acting like a maniac pretty much. Skylar threatens a restraining order. And eventually Walt sees checkmate. Walt starts to throw his chess in the game because he just lets himself in. He just goes back to the house, and I like this because pretty much he legally can do this because he owns the house. He actually technically still owns the house. So
they co-signed Skylar.
Yeah.
The police is like, well, did he hit you? Did he threaten you? Or the kids? She's like, well, no, because like Walt isn't a bad dad. He's a bad person, but he's not a bad dad, really.
And you can see Walt knew exactly what he was doing here because he shows up right before Walter Jr. comes home. So it's like,
yeah, of course.
And then when the police finally show up, Walter Jr.'s already there, and like Skylar even says to like one of the cops, like she's just not good to have around the kids, and you see like Walt like feeding Holly and like being a good dad and everything, like Walt's checkmating her like every which way pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And I do feel bad for Skylar, like. She can't, she can't really tell anyone about all this shit, and like she's painted as the bad guy.
Yeah, and it kind of shows kind of how messed up like the police system can be, because pretty much like the only reason like he can be thrown out is because if he physically hurts her and stuff.
Which it's good that like those things are in place, but yeah, they can be like abused like here.
Yeah. So, Skylar's been talking with, like, a lawyer, but we find out, like, she has, like, therapist qualifications, and, like, basically Skylar has the same deal with this lawyer that Walt had with that doctor back in season 2, so that comes up again, where, she has, like, client confrontation,
Also, it's like, she's a lawyer, she's not a cop.
Yeah, so
like, she's not, like, obligated to, like, tell anyone.
So Skylar, like, tells her, that, Walt's a meth cook pretty much, and this is cool because like Skylar really hasn't been able to tell anyone, so it was finally like a way like I think Skylar was just finally happy like she could tell someone, and she goes back to this lawyer like I think at least a lot in like these batch of episodes, and what's cool about it is Skylar I think just wants like someone to talk to, so it's kind of like her therapist in a sense where she can just vent everything without like anyone holding her back. She finally has someone that she can talk to about this thing. But, the lawyer pretty much is just saying like, get out of there. You're stupid to stay there. But like Skylar doesn't want to really listen to the advice. It's not really like Skylar going to her for advice. It's just her wanting, to get her feelings out there and everything like that. So that's pretty damn cool. And why don't you talk about too everything? Meanwhile, talk about the cool Jesse moment in this. It's probably one of Jesse's best.
Oh yeah. So Jesse finds out his parents are like renovating the house and they're gonna sell it.
Yep.
So Jesse has Saul meet with his parents and like he's like an unknown buyer. Like the parents don't know who Jesse's the one who sent Saul.
Yep.
And Saul lets it slip that he knows that there was a meth lab in the basement. Obviously because Jesse was the one who knew that.
Yep.
The parents lower the price of the house.
Yeah.
By like so Jesse can like afford it.
And talk about the scene that happens when he found think about it too. It's his parents' last scene of the show.
Oh yeah, it is. Jesse he pulls up to the house. His parents are just like getting all their stuff out, and he's just walking up to the front door, and they're like, "Oh hey, stop! You can't go in there." The new buyer's coming in, and then Jesse says, "Yeah, I know. I'm the new buyer." Shows him the keys and just walks in. And I love his parents' reaction. They're just like, "Oh,"
because they will. I feel like too. The mom was more surprised because the dad kind of saw it too, like because he talks to his dad dad like right before all this stuff, and he's just like, crap, like. And it's cool because if you watch a YouTube video of this, after he says that. There's like a bunch of like memes and stuff of like people going, "Oh!" like when he owns them and everything. It's pretty great.
Which is pretty funny. Yeah, a lot of memes this season.
But yeah, I like it a lot. It was kind of like like the drug addict finally like own it, get him one over on the his parents and stuff. Because I think Jesse sees too like he did so much damage with his family relationship. He's finally clean now and stuff, and like. His parents still want nothing to do with them. So it's kind of like, and Jesse, like you said, he feels like this is his house pretty much because.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is like what he said, like his great aunt, his great aunt left it for him,
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And I didn't know it was the same house until now because if you look at the house like compared to season 2 versus season 3, it looks completely different because it had been renovated, which. That was actually, this is like, one of the behind the scenes thing. I think they really had to like stop shooting there because they really did renovate the house in real life and sell it.
That makes sense.
So that's why they, Jesse got thrown out in season 2. And then
they finished the renovations and now, boom, here you go, back in season 3.
Yep. So then, yeah, so that was a cool Jesse moment. But then you see Walt still trying to do everything he can, to try to get Skylar to like. He doesn't really care. Like he wants to make everything right with his marriage, but the main thing he cares about is he wants like Skylar to take the money that he earned.
Yeah, because like. Really, I mean, like, remember when in season 5 when Walter Jr. wouldn't take the money, Walt was going to turn himself into the police.
Yeah.
Like he was no matter what, he just wants what he does to matter,
Yep, and he says like basically everything that like that he used that money for, basically the past few months, and Walt gives Skylar like a chance, to decide everything until she gets home from work, and this is where you could say Skylar's character is unlikable.
And because, okay, look, Walt 100% deserved it. He really did.
Yeah.
Just like this starts a whole stupid plot that is unfortunately important. We can't not talk about it.
So Skylar pretty much hooks up with Ted.
Yeah.
And
it's a funny moment when she walks up to Walt and says I fucked Ted.
Yep. Because, Walt comes home, Walt's cooking dinner thinking, she's going to, be like, yeah, I'll take the money and everything. Everything's going to be gone. But Nope. And Walt did deserve this. So, Walt storms over to Ted.
They're in work, and like, God, this is another reason why this whole thing kind of sucks. Ted is a bitch.
Yeah, because like the what do you call it? The assistant or whatever, like the desk lady.
Receptionist.
Yeah, lies saying that like Ted's in a meeting, but Walt sees like Ted like looking out his door and everything. So he knows it's bullshit. And pretty much, Walt
tries to like pick a fight and like break through, and Ted like won't open his office door, so like Walt tries to like smash it open with like a pot.
Yeah, but it's like, bulletproof.
But yeah, it's like it's harder. It's harder than normal glass.
Yeah, plexiglass.
Walt gets like kicked out of the building.
And we found out earlier.
But like seriously, Ted, come on, man. You really scared of like the 50-year-old cancer patient?
Yeah, right. Because he doesn't even know like Walt's doing all this other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like as far as he knows, Walt's like just like this normal dude.
Honestly, though, let's be honest. I think though Walt would have won the fight if it came down to that.
Oh, probably.
Because of how mad he was, and I feel like Ted, Walt's smarter, and Ted's definitely the weaker one out of the two. I mean, Walt's
got into a couple fistfights in the show, so like.
Yeah. He didn't win any of them, but.
No, but like he fought pretty evenly with Jesse a couple times, and like Jesse's like like what in his 20s.
Yeah, so
Ted's probably younger than Walt, but like not by a lot.
So we found out earlier in the season. Well, we didn't find out, but we had seen. Saul was worried that Skylar was gonna go to the cops at first. So he calls in for Mike to like put wires and taps in his house, so they can listen in. And when Walt was about to storm back into the building, like through the back door, Mike pulls him. I like how he just pulls in. He just grabs Walt and basically like kidnaps him, pretty much. And
I like how Saul just like makes light of the situation, like so what? Your wife cheated on you. Who cares?
Yeah. Because Saul pretty much his whole purpose is why he helped Jesse, and he's basically like because he's trying to score big in the drug business, and he wants
And like this is one of Saul's undoings. He could have stopped. He could have just let them be.
Yep.
But no, and then, so really, he kind of deserved what he got in season 5.
Yes, yeah. So Walt's kind of like, how did you know how to just find me just now? Because basically he realizes, like, he hadn't talked to them probably in like a few weeks. And all of a sudden now, like, they just knew how to find him. And I like, too, like, Saul, like, he tries to like he admits it, but like he tries to like say Walt's kind of like at fault in a way, like saying he was doing him a favor and everything, being that lawyer trying to talk circles around it. But then Saul just beats the crap out of Walt, and they have a fight, and Mike breaks it up, and he fires Saul.
Saul doesn't really beat the crap out of Walt. They just get into a little fist fight, and Mike breaks it up.
And he fires Saul, and has all the bugs get removed and stuff, and what else? Oh, he also Saul says he's not going to launder money into like Walter Jr.'s website. So now Walt has no way to launder all that money now. So, so basically, you're just seeing like Walt is just losing it pretty much, like his mentality and like his morality. And mentally, he's just losing it pretty much because his life's just going down a cliff. He's even when he goes when he's at school, he is just not saying anything. And the vice principal comes in, and that'd be
Walt kind of like, all right, well, Skylar's cheating on me, might as well, So like he tries to like kiss her and like hit on her.
Yep.
He gets fired.
Yep.
Like honestly, I forgot this. Like I don't think I saw this scene when it first happened. Like I think I like just missed it somehow. Like I went to the bathroom or something. So like I was really confused. Like why is Walt not going to the high school anymore?
Yeah. It's kind of funny too because you could just definitely see like this is just a little moment of Eisenberg you see like in that scene, like that, which was kind of cool. But meanwhile, why don't you talk about everything that was going on with Jesse while Walt's life was falling apart, pretty much.
This is probably one of the saddest things in Breaking Bad. Jesse kept calling Jane's number to listen to her voicemail.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only time he can like hear her voice anymore.
Yep.
And there's this really sad scene where, like, you know, because like Jesse's apartment's empty, like he doesn't have any furniture in there.
Yep.
So he's just like laying on the floor with like a blanket, and he keeps calling Jane. And then he hangs up, calls her again, and you know, he hears the like, you know, the number you're trying to reach is not available.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. Like that one last voicemail was the last time he ever hears Jane's voice. You know.
Yeah, and it was like the last connection he really had to Jane.
He's not like sad, you know. Well, he's not like crying or like he's not like he just has like a blank face, you know.
Yep. And I like it too because like Jesse, in a sense, this is bad, but like he feels like he finally found the one thing he was good at, and that was cooking and like dealing meth and stuff like that. Because he goes back and does it, and he meets with Walt like right after he got fired, and like he shows Walt like, you know, that he started cooking again. And I like to like Walt's trying to like say like you're good at other things, like trying to like coach him, like saying do something better with your life than cook meth. And it's kind of sad because like when, you know, it's typically something done for comedy, but this is actually serious. Like when Jesse says, well, what else am I good at other than meth? Like Walt can't really answer because which is very sad. He shows Jesse shows Walt that he cooks the same meth, the baby blue, like Walt did, and you can see Walt freaks out. He loses it that like Jesse's using his product, and
like you can't really blame Jesse. It's like, well, I mean, like, how else am I gonna do it?
Yeah.
Am I gonna purposefully make worse meth? You know? Yeah.
Well, like, you know, Walt kind of basically like lies and says like Jesse's meth isn't good. This is where you see like Eisenberg's ego come out because you know,
he's like, I mean, you kind of get it. Like Walt, like everything in his life is turning to shit. Like the meth that he makes is like the one thing he's got now.
Yep. And the fact that someone else is using it for him, you know, is is insulting to him. So this is like the first time. I mean, they had one, but this is like the first real time like Walt and Jesse like have a falling out. Was this scene right here?
Yeah, they got into like a small like jokey fight in like season 1.
Yeah.
Like so, this is like the first like fist fight.
You know, Jesse storms off and says because he wants to get.
Was this their fist fight? I might have been thinking of the wrong part.
It wasn't a fist fight, but it was.
Okay, my bad. I was thinking of a different scene.
But you know, Jesse like storms off, and he said, "I'll get a hold of Gus myself," pretty much. And we see Gus like still wants to work with Walt. He has like Mike get his you know, because there's a scene in season 2 we forgot to talk about where Gus is like meeting with the DEA, and he finds out that Walt has cancer because Hank had like, you know, like a fun like a thing of money.
Yeah, like a little jar, just like put money in it.
Yeah, and this is when Gus finds out about his lung cancer. So he has Mike get his medical records so he can like, you know, see how long Walt has to live so he can do business with him. So Gus wants to, you know, wants Mike to get a hold of Jesse. He's going to do business with him. And we'll have to kind of question like why, because Gus, it's been known like Gus doesn't work with junkies, but we know that there's something more of a reason, like why, you know, Gus is doing business with Jesse than there is. So Jesse meets up with Victor, and he gives him the meth, and Victor gives him the money, but there's only half. And later on in the episode, Victor gives Walt like his half because Walt and Jesse have like a 50-50 relationship type of thing, and he quickly just drives off. And Walt was at like a stoplight, and when it turns green, like Walt, goes, and that green light's symbolic because it was kind of like saying, like, go back to doing the meth business and everything. It was kind of like, I thought it was a nice little symbolic scene. So why don't you talk about that, that where that leads to, with Walt getting the money.
So Walt ends up going back to Gus, and Gus shows him like the super lab.
And it's the first time we see it, like ever.
And Walt is still like unsure. He's like, I mean, what's the point anymore? Like, my family hates me.
Yeah.
And Gus gives a speech like he's absolutely doing this to be manipulative, but like Walt definitely does take it to heart. And especially what happens like in the end with Walt like giving his family his money, but like not like directly.
Yep.
Gus says like a man provides, even if he's like unloved and unwanted, he still provides. So that like really inspires Walt to like keep making money and cooking meth.
I like it too because I loved it too because like it's one of those great Breaking Bad like scenes that like because I kind of forgot about because of season 4 and 5 were like so good. Because this is like an underrated scene in Breaking Bad, I think, that like ties in, and in a sense it's like it was so cool because like you saw Gus like even though like you saw Gus kind of transition to the Gus we knew, like him being manipulative back then even.
And I think this is a good point to talk about it, so we're not just like bringing it up at the very end. This whole season we have been we see two guys, and they just come off as like an unstoppable force. We see them first in Mexico.
Yeah.
And they just wipe out a whole truck of people and blow it up.
We also
talk.
Yeah.
And they just come off as like just I can't even describe it. Just like forces of nature.
We see we see like they're crawling like in Mexico too, and they put like a picture of like Walt that like was drawn, and they have like a Del de la Muerte or something like that, like a Mexican like prayer tradition that you can pray for like someone to like have a good life, but you could also pray for them to like misery and death, and that's what they do for Walt. And
so we kind of see from that first scene, like, they're leaving Mexico and they're going to America. So we can kind of tell what's going on with them.
Yeah, we don't know, but we know they're connected with the Salamancas because before they go to Hector at like the nursing home, and like he use a Ouija board to like get Hector to say the name, and they spell out Walter White. So they go to his house, and this is like when Walt like
Walt doesn't even know they're there. Walt's just in the shower, and they are just sitting on his bed with an axe, and it's so cool. Like Walt almost died.
Yeah, and Mike, imagine that could be a what if. What if Mike just pulled away like 2 seconds before they showed up or something? And Mike calls and tells Gus about it, and Gus sends them like a text message saying Polo.
Imagine if their phone died.
Yeah, right.
Their phone was dead. That would suck.
And I like it too because when Walt opens the door, we just see they're not there. So we see and we find out that these were the people that killed Tortuga. It shows a flashback of like that of a scene where they actually like chop his head off and stuff like that.
They meet up with Gus, and Gus is like, I need Walter. You can't kill him.
Yep.
And we find out these are Tuco's cousins, by the way.
And Juan Bolio, or whatever his name was working with Tuco. So Gus works for the cartel, but he has like final say with everything that happens in Albuquerque, pretty much. So he runs that. And the cousins get impatient. So they show up like at his restaurant, and they've been sitting there for like a couple of days. And Gus tells them to meet.
Not a couple of days. Like, just imagine that two guys just sitting there, like not going up to like drink water or like go to the bathroom. Yeah, but we see that they just go to the restaurant. Like the guy's like, "Hey, store's closing," and they just stay there all night. Yeah, but like they basically stay there. It's implied they stay there like a couple of days, but they go back and forth like each time and stuff like that. And
Gus tells them to meet them like in an abandoned desert at sunset. And we also see too I forgot too, these guys killed a cop too. But like, was just doing his job and stuff like that.
Yeah, so these guys are pretty merciless.
Yeah. And Gus pretty much says like I need Walter White, but this is like the first time too, like we get to see like, even though you could say like the argument like when the scene with Walt when he's manipulated him to like cook meth still, this is like the first real time you get to see that like Gus isn't really like this well-mannered drug kingpin. We find out he's more merciless. And
wow, who would have thought a drug kingpin? Well, yeah, we always kind of saw him as like a businessman, like he's very professional. He doesn't like, very clean cut. But he goes behind Walt's back and tells them the name of Hank because he's like, all right, you can't kill Walter.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the DEA agent who killed Tuco because really he's the one who's at fault.
Yeah. So.
But reverse Uno card, and we'll get to that later.
So then we see like Skylar comes home one day and Walt finally like none of his stuff is there or anything, and he finally fills out the like divorce papers. So he basically finally gives her the divorce.
Yeah. So like I don't know. It's kind of sad, Walt just like the fight left him. He's just like, all right, whatever. I'll give her the divorce.
Yeah.
Like he's still gonna like provide the money, but like
Yeah.
He's done, trying to like save the marriage.
And Walt. So I think Walt knew he was going back into the business, and he probably would have, if Skylar found out like he was still currently doing it, it would have like escalated even further. So then Jesse and Saul are at Saul's office, and they're basically gonna do like a negotiating tactic, so that way Jesse can get like the whole his whole money that he's owed. So when Walt comes in, he's instantly in Eisenberg like mode. And we should say because it's a typical thing. We know Walt's in Eisenberg mode because Breaking Bad makes a note when he's Eisenberg, he's wearing like darker clothing. And I noticed like the scenery wherever he is will really like really dark and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like lighter clothes, Walter, darker clothes, Heisenberg, which is really big in season 5, where Walter's pretty much always wearing black.
Yep. So then I first saw like offers like basically Walt can just not do anything and he'll get like 10% of Jesse's profits. Which that doesn't satisfy Walt because that's not going to get him what he needs. And Walt pulls out the money, and I love it because Walt says like this is the last of the money you're going to see in this business, because he reveals to Jesse like the only reason Gus did business with him was so that way he can get to Walt.
Which is kind of fucked up. Like Walter at the beginning of the season was like super caring and like dad of Jesse.
Yeah.
But now he's just being an asshole to him.
And Jesse's upset. Walt walks off, and this is like also fucked up. Saul basically jumped ship. He was representing Jesse, but then when he hears Walt's getting more money, he basically represents Walt. He's gonna get like 5% of the profits, and I love that they keep negotiating back and forth. And eventually, like Saul has to go to like that 5% to Walt. And Saul's upset, but Jesse's upset, but Saul's like, well, you got to go with the winner. So Jesse.
Yeah, so it really kind of shows that Saul doesn't really give a shit about them. He's just in it.
Yeah. So Jesse smashes Walt's windshield with a brick, because he's so pissed off. And so do you want to talk about like Walt's first day, like actually being in the business?
Yeah. Back in the business, yeah. Walt goes to the super lab, and he's introduced to his lab partner, Gail. And
Gail, you wouldn't know it from the scene, but Gail becomes a very, 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 very important character in this show.
Yeah, even though he doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
So Walter and Gail get along super good. Like they're both just chill dudes, like they're not hardened criminals who like Victor or like the other guy who replaces Victor. What was his name? Begin with a T.
Tyrus.
Or something.
Tyrese or something.
Tyrese, yeah. He's not like Victor Tyrese, where he's just like this hardened criminal. He's just like a dork, you know. He even says like, "I'm a nerd."
And this is like the first guy, like, other than Walt, that we've seen like that's not like that.
Yeah. And they get along good. They work good together. Gale is like just super amazed by Walt and like wants to learn from him.
Walt's kind of the same way too.
They even get like a little. They even like geek out about like they have like their own coffee machine, and they're like, "Oh my god, we have a coffee machine!"
Yeah.
Like to them, it's like this isn't like some crazy like shootout. This is just like a normal working like office, you know.
You can tell like too. Walt's kind of impressed with like Gale.
Yeah, because Jesse didn't really get chemistry. You know, he just kind of did whatever.
Yeah.
But like Gale's like actually good at what he does.
And we find out like a little bit about Gale's backstory, about like why, because like we find out like he could basically like do anything because he graduated with a bachelor's degree at like some like top school probably in Albuquerque and stuff, and he's freaking basically Walt even says like, why are you a meth dealer pretty much. But we find out like he tried to do everything the right way. He kissed up to all the right people. He tried to work his way up, but pretty much he was kind of like, it wasn't really like what he want. Like he wasn't feeling sad. He's kind of the same thing as Walt if you think about it.
And I really like the line he says where he's like, like people will take meth and it's just like filled with all this like awful shit that like will kill them. And Gale's like, might as well give them like a product that like, like they'll enjoy and they'll be safe with. It's like how even like, I mean, obviously it's not good to cook meth, but even he's like, well, if I'm going to do something evil, might as well like make it less evil, like give people better options, you know?
Yeah. So he quotes a famous poem from a famous poet, and this is important, very important. I don't remember the poem, but he's a huge fan of Walt Whitman, who was actually like a real poet and everything.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, cool, Walter must have wrote a book in the past, and like he like changed his name up.
Yeah.
No. Well, I'm an idiot. Walt Whitman is like a real person.
Yep. Because at first I was thinking too, like, because you see Walt later in the episode reading the book, and I'm thinking, wow, Walt, you must really be stroking your ego if you're reading your own book. But
yeah, I know, right? That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. And it's called Leaves of Grass, and that book becomes very important because we find out Gale gave it to him, and it's how Hank finds out. So think about it: if Walt Whitman like never existed, the way Hank finds out, Hank probably never would have actually found out that Walt was Eisenberg.
Yeah, probably.
So that actually is just kind of isn't that's kind of dumb luck.
Walt Whitman.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb luck for Breaking Bad too, because what a coincidence.
I mean, really, if Walt just put porn magazines behind his toilet instead of a book, would have been a lot better.
Well, that's just kind of like cool luck for Vince Gilligan. Like that was kind of an unwritten story for him. Like Walt Whitman, it's just
Walt Whitman brought down Walter White.
Yep. So then
we say that about everyone. Everyone brought down Walter. We could probably say the Fly brought down Walter and make sense.
Yeah, but it is. But I'm just saying, like, if Walt Whitman.
No, I get what you mean. I'm just joking.
So, Jesse, though, meanwhile, actually, no, we should probably talk about everything with Hank, because what I'm about to talk about next with Jesse ties in. So Hank, pretty much like is getting close to cracking the case of Eisenberg. He's literally, we find out he got promoted to the task force in Texas, and Marie's upset that he's going because this is the same place that he saw Tortilla's head get blown up.
Did you call him Tortilla?
Huh?
You called him Tortilla.
What's his actual one? Tortuga, right?
Yeah, tortilla's a food.
Yeah. So, Hank's about to get on a plane and leave, but he gets a phone call because earlier in the episode we saw Jesse was like buying gas at a gas station, and he didn't have the money to do it. And this kind of shows like Jesse's kind of embracing like being the bad guy because he's manipulated someone that's like never used meth before to use meth. It's actually kind of sad to see like Jesse in that state in a way. But he doesn't find out he got it from her, but like it's been passed around. And Hank goes to talk to this guy, and the rest of the episode is like Hank finds he's interrogating this girl, and it's really sad. You could see like Hank's in really bad shape because he's getting very like not violent but like very aggressive.
Honestly, with the cashier girl, honestly, Hank was pretty nice with her. Like she was all crying, like cause she's like a teenager. She's like, oh my god, I tried it and I hated it. I would never do it again.
And
and like Hank can tell, like, all right, she's a good kid. She's stupid.
Yeah. Which shows, Okay.
Buy you a cup of coffee on the way.
Okay.
8:20.
But yeah, then Hank finds out. Hank basically gets no leads. All he finds out is that she does give away that Jesse had the LV, but like, if you don't know anything about LVs, you're not really gonna give it. And I think too, she's just she's being interrogated, and she's just traumatized because
so she's scared out of her mind because like she's worried she's in trouble.
I thought though it showed how good of Hank, because Hank could have like told her dad pretty much, but I think it's implied like Hank didn't say anything to her dad. But
oh yeah, I figured.
Yeah,
Hank is like a good dude. He's not out to like ruin this girl's life. Although he notices that they have a camera at the gas station, so he asks for the tapes so he gets to see like who sold her the meth.
Yeah, he doesn't see who, but he sees like the LV, and he sees like it's a certain type. And I like this scene. So later in Breaking Bad, I talk about how, in a sense, job-wise, Eisenberg helped Hank because he got like his old boss's position and everything. But we see that's not the case early on because Hank has this opportunity to go to El Paso and basically have a better career doing the task force. But Hank's at a crossroads because he's right in the middle of this Eisenberg case, and he doesn't want to like he's invested so much into it. He doesn't want to like abandon it pretty much. So he kind of has to make an immediate decision, like whether or not he wants to go or not. And he says no. So this is the argument where you could say, did Eisenberg actually ruin Hank career-wise too? Because he probably would have been like, would have saved his life because he probably wouldn't even gotten his head blown up. But Hank's basically sacrificing his career all for this one case, pretty much. So he gets, and there's like 29 RVs that are built the same and everything, and Hank goes through like every single one. And I even love to there's a moment later on in the show where Gomez got the job that Hank was supposed to have in a task force, and you could kind of tell that's getting to Hank a little bit because he was supposed to have that job. And Marie doesn't really know how to talk to Hank because his PTSD is so bad, and like we said, Hank never really been one to know about his emotions.
He doesn't want to talk about it with her.
Yeah.
Shuts himself off, so that's like causing like friction in their marriage. Gomez leaves, for the task force, and like that's kind of a plot point because like Marie like blames him for what happened to Hank. What happens to Hank in episode 7?
Yep. You see like the Eisenbergs really getting to Hank too because I noticed it happens at Gomez's party. Like typically at a party with like all of Hank's friends and stuff, like Hank would be like the life of the party, but this Eisenberg case, gone to him so much, he's like just in the corner by himself pretty much. And all he cares about is work, and he doesn't want to like celebrate, his friend leaving kind of in a way. But he finds the RV, and we actually found out the RV became very important because when you say how Jesse got the RV pretty much, because we find out actually in this season.
So when Walt gave him like his life savings of $3,000, Jesse's blew it all on one at his strip club with his buddies. And I like how Tom was like, "Where'd you get all this money?" And like, "Oh, some dickhead gave me his life savings because he's stupid." Yeah. But after the night of partying, Jesse's like, "Oh shit, I actually got to get the RV now." Combo's like, oh, cool, I know where you can get an RV. And he breaks into his parents' house and steals their RV.
Yep.
So I don't feel as bad for Combo anymore.
Yeah. You know, we don't know we don't know it's his parents. We just assume, I guess, that he just, we definitely know he steals it because, you know, he has some.
They like run over a fence with it. So.
Yeah. But we find out like it's her parents.
Yeah, because Hank visits his mom, because Hank visits Combo's mom and to ask about the RV.
Yeah.
And she's like still mourning, she brings him to his room.
Yeah.
And she's like, I kept it just as it was, which is really sad.
And Hank finds the picture of like Combo and Jesse at the strip club. So basically, like Hank pins together, like, you know, Jesse is a part of this. I don't think he thinks he's like he doesn't necessarily think he's Eisenberg, but he knows
he figures Jesse's connected to it somehow.
Yep. So then, Hank is like investigating Jesse like the next day, and Jesse wants to get back cooking himself again. So he wants the RV renovated, and
it gets renovated all right.
Yeah. One funny little quote I thought was funny was he makes sure to tell Badger this time, like, make sure the buzzer goes off if you leave the keys in the ignition, because Jesse knows if he gets stranded in the desert this time, he's not coming back.
He'll die out there. No thanks.
Yeah.
He doesn't want another episode of that shit.
Yeah. I bet if that happened, Jesse would have just killed himself at that point. Like.
Oh yeah, probably. It would have saved him a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah. There would be a movie coming out.
Yeah, it wouldn't be no movie.
So
the movie would be starring Skinny Pete.
Basically Hank's like stuck between a rock and a hard place because he basically has to wait for like Jesse to leave his house so he can lead him to the RV. So Millie gives Hank the idea to call Walt, since like they knew like Walt was connected with Jesse because
they knew like Jesse was like his former student.
Yeah, and he was selling them marijuana at the time. So we don't really basically all this scene was just to show like that Walt finds out like Hank knows about the RV, so Walt wants to find a way to get rid of it. He tries to call Saul, and basically like Saul kind of like just says, well, get rid of it, but like Walt's like, it's an RV, how can you gonna get rid of it, an RV? It's not like getting rid of like, I don't know, a cell phone and breaking it. So he tries to call Jesse, but then he doesn't answer because he thinks Hank like tapped his phone or something like that. So he goes to Badger's cousin and basically like says we got to destroy this thing. So this is the episode where we meet the junkyard owner.
Wait, it's the junkyard owner Badger's cousin?
No.
Okay. You said, I thought I got confused. I was like, wait, did I miss that?
Yeah, no, they, he connects them to the junkyard owner. So, Badger, when he realizes like the RV is going to get destroyed, calls Jesse up about it, and Jesse, doesn't want his RV to get destroyed because, like, basically without the RV, Jesse has no way to make the meth. So he, why don't you talk about because this is very important.
So Jesse goes to the junkyard to like get his RV, and Walt goes after him.
Yeah.
And they both end up in the RV, and Hank is right on Jesse's tail because he followed him, after he left the house.
Yeah.
And so Walt and Jesse are both stuck in the RV, and if they come out, Hank's gonna arrest them.
And
well, obviously, if Hank sees Walt in there, then the jig is up.
Yeah.
Walt's about to just break into the RV, but the junkyard owner like shows up and is like, "Hey, private property can't be here."
And he comes up with like all like different types of like like since he doesn't have a warrant, he has no justifiable reason to be there and stuff.
Yeah, it's a back and forth. Good thing the junkyard owner like knew law.
Yeah, right.
Hank was like, "Oh, these are bullet wounds." He's like, "Oh, well, they were taped over. You couldn't see them until you did that, so it doesn't count."
So then, let's see. How should we?
I love when Walt tells Jesse like what to say.
Yeah.
You know, Walt obviously knows like legal stuff, and I like how Jesse says it like word for word.
Except bitch.
You know, and like super. You know, because like Jesse would never say this unless someone told him it.
Yeah.
It's like super like formal.
I think though he tries to like spin it where it's like some because he adds bitch at the end of every sentence just so that way.
That's what it is. Jesse, Walt says to Jesse like, "This is my own private domicile, and I will not be harassed."
Yeah.
So Jesse says the same thing, but he pauses and says "bitch" at the end.
Yeah.
And I love how Walt like just stares at him like.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I gotta open up another tab again.
Yeah. All right. So then what happens is Hank pretty much wants the woman, and Hank actually does have probable cause to actually be there, but he thinks it's this is just gonna be it. He's gonna catch Eisenberg right here.
Yeah. Well, Hank's gonna like call it in, and like get justification to do it.
Because who would have thought like the plan that would have got thought up? Now, since I want to talk about like the shootout scene and everything, why don't you talk about the plan that Walt and Jesse come up with to lure Hank away?
So Walt calls Hank's number. Well, he doesn't call his number. You know what I mean. He gives someone else Hank's number to call and tell him that his wife Marie's in the hospital.
Yep.
And Hank is like, well, I mean, I can get Jesse, but I gotta go make sure my wife's okay. So so Hank leaves, and Walter and Jesse are like, yeah, we gotta get rid of this RV now.
And I like it, like
it's a sad moment, like they're like watching it like get crushed.
Yeah.
And Walt and Jesse were on like bad terms, so like it's kind of nice that they could like reconcile a little bit. Yeah,
it's kind of funny. It kind of shows like. In a sense, like, when you're about to go to prison and, like, your life's in shambles and stuff, you can, like, they were able to reconcile for, like, that little moment. Because they were arguing right until Hank got there and stuff, and then they reconciled.
And in the hospital, like, obviously Jesse isn't cool with Walter, so just for, like, this one moment.
Yeah. It's a sad moment. This is kind of like, too, like, the end of, like, this is, like, the official end of, like, the street, kind of like
Breaking Bad, yeah. After this, it's like like the higher ups. Like this is like their end of their street days.
So that, in a sense, that's what the OV getting destroyed kind of means to me. Like it was kind of the end of an era of like.
Yeah, honestly, I can see that.
But then Hank goes to the hospital, and I like how it was like silent. Like you heard Hank, but like there was no sound, nothing. It just really brought that scene up even more.
Yeah, like Hank realized he's been tricked.
Because he has like a special like ringtone for like Marie, and when she calls him at like the hospital, she's just like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And this is like, I think this is the moment Hank's character changed forever. I think.
He snapped. Like he was like, "All right, they brought my wife into this." Jesse is going back to is like opening up his door. He went back home. And he thinks, all right, Matter said or whatever, Hank will leave him alone.
Yeah.
Hank pulls up, and Jesse's like, hey, get out of here, man, all right? You got nothing on me. And Hank just starts beating the shit out of Jesse.
And obviously, too, we find out Dean Norris accidentally really knocked Aaron Paul a little bit.
Poor guy. Aaron Paul gets shit beat out of him by accident by everyone.
Yeah.
First Tuco, and now Hank.
You start to question sometimes if it's a freaking accident at that point. Like,
yeah, do you think like everyone's just like, all right, $10 if you hit Aaron Paul in the face?
Yeah.
Everyone in the cast has probably hit Aaron Paul once or twice.
Yep. So Hank realizes I fucked up here pretty much. And he calls the hospital. Which I really realized, I just thought the hospital were, like, called, but I didn't realize it was him until, like, the second time I saw it, that it was, like, him that called the hospital.
Yeah, Hank calms down for a second, realizes, like, he fucked up,
Yeah.
And, he owns up to it. Like, he calls the hospital.
Yeah.
His, like, superior shows up, and, like, he gets, like, his badge, he gets his badge taken away, basically.
Yeah. And we find out that, Jesse wakes up the next day, and, basically Jesse just admits, that he's gonna make Hank's life miserable, pretty much. He's gonna make sure like everything that like Hank does, like Jesse's gonna benefit from. Like he's gonna get all his
I was
money.
like super happy at first, like sweet. DA's not gonna want to go near you because like you're you're all beat up.
But then
but Jesse's like, okay, well I'm gonna sue Hank, and Saul's like, no.
Yeah.
All right, they'll leave you alone if you don't do anything. But if you like go looking for a fight, they're gonna fight back.
But then and Jesse says like, even if I win and everything, if I start cooking again and everything, even if I get caught, I'm gonna give away Eisenberg pretty much. And
yeah, so like Jesse's like, you're my get out of jail free card.
And Walt doesn't think like Jesse's gonna like say anything because he thinks Jesse's that loyal, but Saul's kind of like, well, Jesse's desperate. Yeah, Jesse's desperate pretty much because Jesse has nothing right now really, which ties into this episode. So yeah, Hank basically is being like interrogated by the police.
Well, no, not the police. Like he's getting like he's talking with like Jesse's lawyers.
Yeah, and they're doing the investigation.
Jesse's, like, doing his best to make Hank look bad. Like he's refusing his pain meds. Like his drug tests are coming in clean.
And then basically, even though this is like the official moment where like the case should have been closed, like when they take a picture of Hank's hands, because that's obvious, because like his hands are like all beat up from like pounding the crap out of Jesse. Yeah. And even probably Aaron Paul. And I love the scene when Hank goes into the elevator with Marie, and you see it like close, and then they just break down in the elevator, and then when it opens,
it opens up again, and they're fine.
Yeah,
that's a big moment for Hank. Hank in season 1 wouldn't have done that. Hell, even Hank like 2 episodes ago wouldn't have done that.
No. So this is kind of like when Hank finally like breaks, and we find out Marie told Skylar, and Skylar tries to go to Walt pretty much, and like convince Jesse, to have Walt convince Jesse to like drop the charges pretty much. But Walt pretty much doesn't think that that's gonna happen, and we find out not this episode, but Walt's been cutting the crust off his sandwiches now, which is cool.
Which is what Crazy 8 used to do.
Yeah,
so that's a trend that we see like throughout the show. This is like the first real time it happens, but every time Walter kills someone, he like takes a trait of them.
Yep.
He cuts off the crust like Crazy 8. He when he throws up, he stands on a towel like Gus.
Yep.
He takes Mike's like drink order.
Yep.
So just like throughout the show, the more he kills, like the more he like takes their traits, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. We don't know what of Emilio's traits he took because he killed him, but we never found out what Emilio's trait was because he was dead right away.
Who cares about Emilio?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even think Walter even like remembers him. Like, oh, who's that guy I killed in episode 1? Whatever.
Probably season 5 Walt forgets who he. I bet season 5 Walt kind of forgets who Crazy 8 is. Like, who's that? Who is that guy?
It's like the combo moment. Like, which one's Emilio?
Yeah. What Walter does, and I like the geniusness of it, is you can kind of tell like Walt doesn't want to do this because him and Gail were having like a good relationship. Gail actually messes up, and it's like a small thing, but Walt makes it seem like a big deal, just so that way like it's a bigger fight than what it is.
Yeah, so like he has reason to like get rid of Gail, and people like shit on Walt like, oh, Walt actually wanted to get rid of Gail. Not really. I feel like Walt really did want to keep Gail around.
Yeah.
I mean, I think deep down he's happy to like have Jesse back because like he likes working with Jesse.
Yeah.
But like he also liked working with Gail, so like
I think though eventually though because they're so brilliant, the story like kind of gets told like Walt kind of doesn't really have anyone to teach kind of really now like. But yeah. I mean it's them hating out with friends, but like you could see like Walt's kind of asking like questions like did you do this and this, and then when Gail's already done it, like Walt's kind of like maybe cooking meth wouldn't have been as fun for Walt anymore. Like
what happened? I feel like what happened in season 5 where Walt got bored, that probably would have happened like a lot sooner.
Yep, because Gail's doing everything for him. So
I mean, it's not Gale's fault. He's a hard worker, you know. Walt's just like a bag of nut, you know.
yeah,
Just a crazy bag of just fucking whatever Walt is.
yeah,
A therapist wouldn't want to touch Walt, is what I'm trying to say, basically.
yeah. So you know, we see Walt having a calls Gus and basically says, you know, like we have to replace Gale with Jesse, but he doesn't say like why, the real reason he wants to.
Because I don't think he wants to reveal to like Gus that like Hank is like in the DEA.
Yeah. So you know, he says, even though at this point we know Gus knows because
Gus knows. Gus even knows he has lung cancer.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he knew Walt's social security number too.
I know, right? Imagine too, like after like Walt makes all that money, right? He just goes and just takes it all back with his social security. Like he just takes $3 million right off of Walt. Like
even with half his face off, Gus would probably do that. It's like that. It's like that part when they go to Mexico in season 4, where Gus knew Jesse's blood type, even though Jesse didn't know his own blood type.
Yeah. So Gus agrees to it, and you kind of feel bad for Gale because in season 4, you find out like he was like, and you always kind of knew it, like the super lab was like his brainchild, and he's basically like being thrown out of it.
And honestly, Gus wasn't gonna hire Walt, and then like Gale convinced him.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, Gale is the one who got Walt caught in the first place.
There you go.
Everyone's responsible for Walt dying.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about, because I'm going to talk about the end of the big ending. Why don't you talk about when Walt tells Jesse about the job?
Walt tells Jesse about working with him in the super lab, but he has to like drop the Hank, like the Hank charges on Hank.
Yeah.
But Jesse flips out and says, "No, I'm not doing this." And Walt's like, "You're gonna turn down like $3 million?" Yeah. Jesse goes off on probably one of my favorite speeches in the show. He says, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm not turning you down. I'm not turning down the money. I'm turning down you. Ever since I met you, everything sucks. He lost everyone. And and like from Jesse's point of view, he's kind of right. Like I can see why he thinks that.
I mean, I think he
has a point.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's not all Walt's fault.
Yeah. I mean, Jesse had a hand in it himself. Like his parents' relationship wasn't going to get any better, but it didn't. Definitely teaming up with Walt, it got worse. He lost Jane, and then he finds out literally it's because of Walt. He lost. I mean, he didn't basically.
And not at this point, but he loses his new girlfriend Adrian and
yeah.
Or Andre, whatever her name is, and her kid Brock, because he doesn't get to see him anymore.
Well, I think Brock's gonna be in the movie.
I mean, probably in the movie, but like, yeah. I mean, Jesse's a wanted criminal, so like, he can just kidnap the kid,
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah. We find out later on Walt has a huge hand, in it, but Jesse hasn't been his own he's been his own worst enemy too somewhat. So
yeah, but like Jesse's just like super emotional. He's blaming Walt,
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the shit didn't happen until he partnered with Walt,
Yeah. Like he lost his house, because he got kidnapped by Tuco and everything.
Yeah. So he's connecting it all back to Walt, basically.
Yeah.
Even if Walt wasn't like directly responsible, like, like he's like, all right, this happened because of this, and this happened because I met you.
Yeah.
But with like a couple words, Walt says, "Your meth is good, Jesse, just as good as mine." And then Jesse like starts crying, like he's like, "Fuck, like damn it, like I have to do it,"
Yeah. I think in a sense,
poor Jesse, he's so desperate just for like that little bit of recognition,
Yeah, because I thought that even though like I feel like to Jesse, like even though like all the meth heads and stuff have liked his meth, he would like someone like him and Walt, the guy like who created it and stuff, say that I think meant a lot. Someone who looks up to like a father figure, it meant a lot to him.
Because like I feel like Jesse's relationship with his parents really has a lot to do with a lot of this. Like Jesse's just like so desperate to like be important, you know?
Yep.
Good thing a doctor didn't hear, like, was just walking by and didn't hear this shit.
Yeah, right. You always question too, like, what if like the most random person ever just heard, like, you know, because just heard them talking about this type of stuff.
I know some like guy who's just visiting his like mom in the hospital just walks by and like hears Jesse screaming about cooking meth and shit.
Yep. You know, or like, you know, yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, then
hey, before that, sorry, it's a scene with Hank I really like. It's before Jesse calls off the charges on Hank. Marie's like, okay, we can do something about this. We can say like the kid came at you or something, and Hank's like, no, I'm gonna own up to this.
And
I love the quote Hank says, "I'm not the man I thought I was."
I like it too. Yeah. He kind of
finds it's a really good scene with Hank. He's not very emotional a lot of times, so it's nice to see him open up to someone.
This is the first time he has, yeah, and he finally kind of admits everything, like to Marie, that he's been going through and everything.
And he's just moral, you know. Like I feel like Walt would have just twisted it in a way, you know, like Marie was saying, like, but Hank was like, no, I fucked up, and I'm gonna own up to it.
And you know, this even though like Hank later on starts to break bad a little bit, the whole theme of the show is everyone breaks bad, even Skylar, you know, and Marie even a little bit. Hank's like really the only one, like up until the, you know, up to this point, like never really broke bad and like, you know, did everything the right way.
I mean, towards the end, he definitely did make a couple like bad decisions, and like he was pretty cruel. But like compared to everyone else, like I mean, I feel like going a little bit in the bad direction isn't too bad.
Yeah. So Hank's gonna go in with the truth, and basically Hank knows, like, you know, he's gonna lose everything pretty much. And his boss, I always forget his name, comes and tells him like Jesse dropped the charges, and Hank's like, why? Pretty much he wants to know why, and you know the guy says maybe you got a guardian angel watching out for you. And it's funny because if you go in the comments, everybody says maybe that guardian angel's Walter White, Eisenberg's your guardian angel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's basically what happened. So it's kind of cool in a way. Like Hank just kind of thinks it was a luck thing that
like his worst enemy helped him out, you know.
Yeah. So then earlier in the episode, I should say, we see the cousins buy the bulletproof vests, because that bulletproof vest comes fairly important later on in the right now actually. So you know, Hank, everything looks to be fine. And you know, Hank then gets a phone call from a mysterious person with her voice hidden, who we know is Gus, because Gus is the only one that knows that the cousins are coming after him.
Yeah, so this is what I meant earlier when I said reverse Uno card, because we think, oh, Gus is like just letting the twins kill Hank.
Yep.
But now we find out, like, okay, something's going on with Hank. I mean, with Gus, like he's not working with the cartel as closely as we think.
And this episode is called 1 Minute, and you know the episode, you know, with the shootout. And we think at first it's called 1 Minute because earlier there's a scene, like in the past, where we see the cousins are like young, and Hector like threatens to drown one of them. He said he probably only has another minute, and he lets go and everything. And we think that's the reason the episode's called 1 Minute. But we find out the main reason it's called 1 Minute. It was kind of like, you know, they said the title, we think, oh, that's the reason it's called 1 Minute, but it flips. So Gus tells Hank pretty much that you have 1 minute pretty much to, I guess, be aware that these people are coming.
And it's like, oh, what the? All right, he like, it's like desperate, like calling Gomez, like leave him a voicemail, like, hey, whatever you think that was, it wasn't funny, dude.
Yeah, I think it's a prank.
So, like Hank is like trying to think it's like a joke, but like he's like looking around, like, all right, just.
This is where I think everything that happened to Hank is a good. Because if this had been season 1, Hank, he would have thought, like, he instantly would have laughed this off and just drove away and everything. So this is why it's good that like Hank had to go through all that stuff and go through his PTSD, because in a sense, everyone says that the PTSD slowly kills them and everything. In a sense, Hank's PTSD saved his life in a way.
Yeah, like his paranoia, and
yeah.
like it's kind of that 1 minute was super intense. Like he's like just looking around, like he thinks just a random person going to their car with groceries is like he's like scared of it.
Yeah, and then we actually like see the shadows
like,
of the.
He keeps looking at the his like clock on his car.
Yeah.
And when it like turns 1 minute, he thinks he's in the clear for a second.
Yeah.
But then in his mirror, he sees two guys walking towards him.
And then one of the cousins, shoots at his car. Hank reverses it and drives the car right into him. And like it's leaned up against another car, so he basically
and like Hank is like moving the car like behind in between them. So like the guy is getting just railed.
Yeah, and we should say too, Hank doesn't have his gun because he got suspended. So this is why
So one of the twins like drops his gun in the car when Hank fucking backs into him. So Hank like just tries to go for that.
And the other
twin starts like shooting at him, so Hank has to like leave the car.
And pretty much the other twin gets the car out of there, and the twin says finish him pretty much.
Yeah, and like I feel like the twin who isn't like injured, I don't know their names, who cares? They're basically the same character. Hank, like the other twin, like knows, like, oh shit, he's dead, like his legs are fucked.
Yeah. So that twin looks all around for Hank. Hank tries to come up and shoot him, but because he's wearing the bulletproof vest,
he takes it. So he shoots Hank a couple times.
Yep. And he easily could just shoot Hank right now and kill him, but he said that's too easy. He wants to make Hank suffer. He wants to I think he wants to like relish in the fact. Like I feel like I guess like if I'm thinking of like if I want to really kill somebody, maliciously taking an axe to somebody's head is probably more satisfying than like shooting them.
Yeah, like this is personal, and like he fucked with the twins' family, So
and this is where you could say this is where like emotion kind of comes in to hurt people in Breaking Bad, because this could be
just killed Hank and on his way.
Yeah, and earlier we see that he dropped one of his bullets, and Hank, what a coincidence, lands right next to it.
And by the way, during the shootout, like he shoots like a random guy and like almost shoots a lady. So like this battle killed like another person, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah. So Hank reloads the gun that the other twin had dropped and stuff, and when the twin with the axe comes over. This is why I hate reviewing anything that has twins with that look alike and everything, because you can't tell which one is which, so it makes the review sloppy.
Plus, they never talk, so it's like hard to tell. Anyway.
So he goes
I said they're basically the same.
Yeah. So the twin goes to chop Hank's head off, but I love this shot. Hank shoots him like at the last second, and you just see like
you see like the axe fall right next to Hank.
Yeah.
And Hank is obviously like still bleeding out, like ugh.
Yeah. And
so the final shot. Can I talk about the final shot?
Yeah.
The final shot is just like, Hank, the dead twin, Hank bleeding out, and like the other dead guy, the guy who the other twin shot.
Yeah.
Lying in this parking lot, and you just hear the car that Hank was driving go beep 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 until it goes to black.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that, just like seeing like the area after all this big battle,
Yeah, exactly. And this was a cool. This is like really the only time too. Like, I mean, actually, this is the last time, if you think about it, in a sense, that you really see like a big shootout like this in Breaking Bad. The only other time is really that like shotgun scene where like Gus like walks like right into it and stuff like that.
Yeah, the neo-Nazi one got like done off screen. So.
Yeah, so this is like the last time you really see it, but
this was a great like end to an episode. Just like one in that fight got fucked over.
And
Hank for the next season is like out of commission.
Yeah. In a sense, we talk about it. Had this scene not happened, Hank would have never caught Eisenberg because he never would have gotten that folder from Gale and and like I said, he probably would have gotten like the folder, but like Hank would have been able to investigate that folder like as in depthly as he did. So that Walt Whitman poem would have went right over him because so it's kind of cool in a way. And this, scene changes Hank for forever, pretty much. Because Hank's character would have been, I don't want to say redeemable because that's not the right word, but like Hank, I think
would have been morally in the right.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this definitely like made him a darker person.
Yeah. And it changes Marie and Hank's marriage like for the next couple seasons, pretty much.
Yeah, like season half, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And basically at this point we're left to question now, like, so what's Gus doing? Like, because even though we're not thinking that, like, if you first see it, you're like, but you have to have that in the back of your mind, like, what is Gus's plan here? Because
what's his end game? Like, why do you want Hank to live, or at the very least, why do you want Hank to put up a fight?
Yep. So I think that's and this is like the first time we really get to see like not like Gus is like this villain now in a way. So I think it's really cool. I feel like too.
Keep talking, I gotta get the door.
Yep. I feel like 1 minute is an underrated episode in Breaking Bad because there's so much character development. You see Jesse develop as a character. It's Hank's final development. So I really like Shotgun.
See ya.
Yeah.
I'm just Skyping someone. I don't. It just locks automatically. Oh my god, I'm Skyping someone. I'm not doing anything. I think really my door does like lock automatically. I have no idea why.
Yep. So great. But yeah, so I mean we can't do the letter grade yet because we have to see the rest of season 3. So think about it too. We're gonna review that Fly episode soon. The most controversial episode of Breaking Bad. And I say that
a great mid-season finale. This is the mid-season finale, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So definitely, probably I think the best mid-season finale so far.
Yeah, so far, yeah. If you said
second best one overall. Look at that. The two best mid-season finales involve Hank.
In a big way, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I feel like we've kind of covered everything. Because I feel like there's nothing hindsight-wise we can really, say.
Yeah, we pretty much said everything in hindsight. We went over like the goods, the bads. Again, the Ted plot line's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, the twins didn't have a lot of personality, but like that was kind of the point. They were just like a force of nature. They weren't really characters.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's I'll say like some behind the scenes stuff. One of the twins had like never acted before, and this was like his first time acting. I don't know which one because I can't tell, but
I didn't know that. Are they twins in real life?
Yeah, they're real life twins.
All right, well, and I forgot to like use makeup to like make them look more alike.
One thing I forgot to talk about too. I should show you this scene. In one of the commentaries, I found out that Aaron Paul and the guy that plays Gus worked together before. Which is kind of cool because you don't really know that unless you watch Breaking Bad and all that type of stuff. There's an episode or like a movie, I don't know what it is, of Ghost Whisperers where they're both in it, and it's kind of funny because
and spoilers, by the way, because he's gonna say what happens in the movie.
Yeah, it spoiled it for me too, but it was worth it. So Gus like plays this guy that like since Gus is African American, he thinks like everyone's racist towards him. So Aaron Paul kind of is one of those people that are racist towards him, and they have like a fight in the alley, and Aaron Paul kills Gus in that one. So that's kind of cool because in Breaking Bad, in a sense, Jesse has a pretty decent hand of killing Gus.
Yeah, so Jesse got to kill Gus twice.
Yeah, so
guess that racism carried over.
I meant to send you that scene, but I forgot. I probably will send it to you again, and you could kind of talk about it like in a future episode. It's kind of cool in a sense too, because like in a sense, Gus got his revenge because he got to be like the mind overlord against Jesse. Pretty much. But yeah, that's pretty much like the last hindsight thing.
Yeah, so this was definitely a great season. I feel like the second half of season 3 is a bit better.
Yeah.
Although the highlight of this season is probably like the shootout with Hank and the twins.
Yeah, that or
the ending with
the ending. Well, I think one flaw we should talk about is this is kind of the last. Even though Hank is still in it, he doesn't really do anything like I shouldn't say like he's not like he's kind of like out of the loop until really.
He's on the sidelines. I get what you mean. Like, he's not a big player until like season 5 again.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm kind of glad that like this had consequence. You know, it would be a bit weird if like 2 episodes later Hank's out again.
Yeah.
But maybe his recovery shouldn't have taken like as long as it did.
Yeah. I mean, obviously though, it makes sense in a sense too, because like he got shot like
like 3 times. Yeah, and like he was crippled.
Yeah. I do like to about Breaking Bad how they try to we talk about in Death Note like in that universe they try to make it as realistic as possible. In Breaking Bad they try to make it like exactly as like realistic as possible. Like they took a situation like that and made it seem like how would you react or someone react in a situation like that. They didn't make it like anything like Hollywood wise where all of a sudden like I don't know like I can't even think of, but like how Hollywood likes to kick it up like 10 notches. Like I don't know, Hank just pretends like he didn't get shot and just shoots the guy in the head out of nowhere or something like that. Like they make it as realistic as possible. And
still obviously like being dramatic and like a TV show.
And like the actors like in situations like talk about stuff like you would expect this like you and I would talk about it in real life. There's none of that over the top acting that you see sometimes. So that is nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We have nothing to talk about. We're kind of rambling in a way. You wanted this video to be short, right?
Yeah, and it's an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
Of course. And we still got to watch our season finale of Family Guy after this.
So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Since we're not making another video or anything like that, anything you want to plug or promote?
Check out my channel, AJ Talent. I uploaded finally for the first time in like a year, although it was the first full project. Check out Owen at Wrestling Fortune 44, Owen Talknator, and CM Brothers.
Yep, and we'll be doing Breaking Bad season 3 episodes 8 through 13. Like
later this week, probably like Thursday or Friday.
And Family Guy
next week where we do season 4 and 5, and then we make our predictions video before the movie.
Yep. So that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.